Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that's incredibly important for anyone taking or prescribing amlodipine, one of the most common medications for high blood pressure and certain heart conditions. We're going to talk about amlodipine impurities. Now, that might sound a bit technical, but stick with me, because understanding this is key to ensuring the safety and effectiveness of your medication. So, what exactly are we talking about when we say impurities? In the world of pharmaceuticals, an impurity is any component present in a drug substance or drug product that isn't the desired active pharmaceutical ingredient or a PI or the excipients, which are the inactive ingredients like fillers and binders. These impurities can come from various sources. They might be leftover starting materials from the manufacturing process, byproducts that form during chemical reactions, or substances that develop when the drug breaks down over time. Regulators like the FDA in the United States and the EMA in Europe have very strict guidelines about this. They set acceptable limits for different types of impurities to ensure that the medications we take are both safe and effective. The goal is to keep these impurities at a level so low that they pose no significant risk to patients. Pharmaceutical companies must conduct rigorous testing at every stage, from raw material to the final pill you get from the pharmacy, to identify and quantify any impurities. Let's break down the main types of impurities you might find in a medication like amlodipine. First, we have organic impurities. These are often related to the synthesis process. Think of it like baking a cake. Sometimes you get little bits that are slightly overcooked or ingredients that didn't fully mix in. In drug manufacturing, these can be unreacted starting materials, intermediate compounds, or byproducts. For amlodipine, specific organic impurities have been identified and are closely monitored. One of the most well-known is a compound often referred to as impurity D, which is a pyridine analog of amlodipine. Scientists have studied these specific compounds to understand their potential effects and to develop methods to control their levels. Next are inorganic impurities. These are things that aren't carbon-based. They might include reagents, ligands, catalysts like heavy metals or residual salts. For example, metals like palladium might be used as a catalyst in one of the synthesis steps. It's crucial that these are removed almost completely from the final product because even in tiny amounts, some heavy metals can be toxic. Then we have residual solvents. Solvents are liquids used during the manufacturing process to dissolve reactants and facilitate chemical reactions. After the process is complete, these solvents need to be removed. However, trace amounts can sometimes remain. These are classified based on their potential toxicity. Class 1 solvents, for instance, are known carcinogens and are strictly avoided or limited to extremely low levels. Other classes have higher acceptable limits, but are still tightly controlled. The choice of solvents and the drying process are critical steps in ensuring the final drug is pure. So, why is all this so important? The primary concern is, of course, patient safety. Some impurities, even at very low concentrations, could potentially be toxic, cause cancer, or trigger unexpected side effects. That's why regulatory bodies and organizations like the United States Pharmacopoeia, or USP, establish what are called identification thresholds. If an impurity is found above a certain level, it must be identified. If it's above an even higher threshold, its safety must be proven through toxicological studies. This multi-layered safety net is designed to protect public health. Beyond direct toxicity, impurities can also affect the stability and efficacy of the drug. An impurity could cause the main drug, amlodipine in this case, to degrade faster than it should. This means that by the time you take the medication, it might not have the full dose of the active ingredient it's supposed to have. This could reduce its effectiveness in controlling your blood pressure, which can have serious health consequences. The physical properties of the drug could also be altered, affecting how it dissolves in your body and gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Now, let's talk about how these impurities are detected and controlled. This is where some really advanced science comes in. The primary technique used is called high-performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC. In simple terms, HPLC is a superpowered separation method. The drug sample is dissolved in a liquid and then pumped under high pressure through a column packed with a special material. Different components in the sample travel through this column at different speeds, allowing them to be separated and detected. This method is incredibly sensitive and can detect impurities at levels of parts per million or even lower. Once separated, other techniques like mass spectrometry, or MS, can be coupled with HPLC. MS acts like a molecular scale, measuring the exact mass of each separated component. This helps scientists to identify the chemical structure of the impurity. Nuclear magnetic resonance, or NMR spectroscopy, is another powerful tool that gives detailed information about the structure of molecules, helping to confirm the identity of these trace compounds. Pharmaceutical companies invest heavily in developing and validating these analytical methods. They don't just test the final product. They test raw materials, monitor the chemical reaction as it happens, and test the drug at various stages of production. This concept is known as quality by design. Instead of just testing for quality at the end, the quality and purity are built into the manufacturing process from the very beginning. They identify critical process parameters like temperature, pressure, and reaction time that can affect impurity formation and then control them meticulously. Another crucial aspect is stability testing. Once a batch of amlodipine is made, samples are stored under various conditions of temperature and humidity for extended periods, sometimes for years. They are periodically tested to see if any new impurities have formed or if existing ones have increased. This data is what determines the shelf life and recommended storage conditions you see on your medicine bottle, like store at room temperature away from light and moisture. Amlodipine, for example, is known to be sensitive to light, which can cause it to degrade and form a specific photolytic impurity. This is why it's often packaged in light-resistant containers. So what does all this mean for you as a patient? First and foremost, it should be reassuring. The pharmaceutical industry is one of the most highly regulated industries in the world. The pills you get from a reputable pharmacy have undergone an immense amount of testing and quality control to ensure they are safe and effective. The chances of being harmed by an impurity in a legitimately sourced medication are extremely low. However, this also highlights the dangers of counterfeit or unregulated medications. When you buy medicines from unverified online sources, you have no guarantee that they were manufactured under these strict controls. They could contain dangerous impurities, the wrong dose of the active ingredient, or no active ingredient at all. This is why you should only ever get your prescription medications from a licensed pharmacy. If you ever have concerns about your medication, the best thing to do is talk to your doctor or pharmacist. They are your best resource for information. Don't suddenly stop taking your medication, especially for a chronic condition like high blood pressure, without consulting them first. The risks of uncontrolled high blood pressure are far greater than the remote risks associated with regulated impurities. It's also worth noting that sometimes recalls happen. A company might discover an impurity that exceeds the acceptable limit and will voluntarily recall the affected batches. While this can be alarming, it's actually a sign that the safety system is working. These recalls are usually precautionary, and the risk to patients who have taken the medication is often very low, but the system is designed to err on the side of caution. In summary, amlodipine impurities are trace substances that can arise during the manufacturing or storage of the medication. There are robust systems in place, involving advanced analytical chemistry and strict regulatory oversight, to ensure these impurities are kept at levels that are safe. These measures protect you by ensuring the medication is not only safe but also stable and effective throughout its shelf life. Your role as a patient is to always use medication as prescribed, store it correctly, and source it from a trusted pharmacy. Understanding the science behind your medication can empower you to be a more active participant in your healthcare. It's not about causing worry, but about building confidence in the treatments that help keep us healthy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this explanation was clear and helpful. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into health and medicine. Drop any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.